camera on a little early today. We're going to need a chair for today's practice. So if you don't have one handy, this is plenty of time. You can go get one. I'm going to wait until about 1/4 before we actually start our practice. So I'm just getting settled here. Joyful's been ready. She's always ready. As soon as the mat comes out, she's ready. Just so we know, she's a very squishy cat. She likes being squished. And she enjoys yoga. So again, if you're just joining us, we're going to need a chair for today's practice. So you have plenty of time to go get one. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. My name is Robin Bruckman. This is Yoga with Joyful. This is Joyful. Joyful's the cat. As every practice, if I invite you to do something that your body doesn't think is good, then please don't do it. This practice is designed to be accessible to all, which includes people who have never tried yoga before. It should be accessible even if you've never done yoga. Our goal today, as every day, is to feel better when we get up off our mat than we did coming down to the mat. So here's your opportunity to get settled on your mat. We need a chair. This time that you've set aside for yourself, so that we all have the opportunity to create better ease in our body. So as we get ready to begin, you want to find a comfortable seated position, whatever that means for you. I'm sitting in Sukhasana, or easy pose, a simple cross-legged pose. All right, so find this comfortable seated pose, whatever that means for you. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And just really appreciate this time that you've set aside for yourself. The next 45 minutes or so is just an opportunity to find more openness in our bodies, and today's focus is going to be on strength. And don't get scared of that. We're not doing arm balances, but just enough so that we feel a little bit stronger. So allow your breath to be quiet and soft, coming from your belly, grounding your 2 seat bones, allowing your hips to begin to open. Let your thighs be heavy. Shoulders hang down from the ears. Upper arms are heavy. Your head is elevated and soft. Neck is light and easy. Let your breath come from your belly. Just really appreciate this time. I'm going to do a little reading before we begin. I ask myself, how can I begin the process of peace? I begin the process of peace by honoring the divine nature of every being. I send prayers of peace to all of our world leaders. I envision peace between countries and between neighbors. To change attitudes towards peace, I begin with myself. I connect with the Spirit. This connection allows me to demonstrate peace at work, in my family, and with all my acquaintances. Whenever I feel concern, frustration, or anxiety, I remember to honor the divine nature of every being. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Open your eyes, take a deep breath, interlace your fingers, palms overhead, and gently begin to stretch from side to side, grounding that opposite side seat bone, feeling the openness in that opposite side rib cage, feeling that opposite side hip be heavy, the thigh is heavy, just beginning a little process of opening, softening, giving ourselves a little bit more room to breathe. Isn't it interesting how such a simple movement can really allow a lot of opening to occur? Release your fingers, interlace your fingers behind you, collarbones long, shoulder blades together in the back, looking upward, heart open, hands away from the body, allowing the belly to be soft and noticing that this is a little bit of a back bend, just a very beginning back bend, just a way to start opening the heart center. I'm being rubbed on. And release your hands. Place your right hand down, left arm up overhead. Again, stretching to the side, looking up underneath that left arm. So when we do one arm, we did two arms together. When we do one arm, we can get a little bit more opening in that rib cage. Did you notice? And press up, grounding the left arm, right arm up overhead, looking underneath that right arm, feeling that opening in the whole right side body. And press up, left hand to the right knee, right hand behind you as a kickstand, and beginning to turn to the right. The twist begins in the pelvic area, comes up through the low back, mid back, upper back, and completes at the neck. The neck is not included in the twist. So notice that the right shoulder blade comes towards the midline of the body. Left shoulder blade comes away from the midline of the body. And what those two actions do is it begins to release any tension in the trapezius area. Many people, not us, but many people carry tension in the upper thoracic, the upper rib cage area. And this is one way to help release any tension that might have accrued in that area. And release, come to center, right hand to the left knee, right hand behind you as a kickstand, gentle twist to the left, grounding both seat bones, gaze cast downward, and come forward, place your hands on the mat in front of you, and walk your hands out enough that you begin to feel a little bit of release in the hips. This doesn't have to be your biggest, baddest stretch. Thank you for rearranging my mat, Joyful. And the heart area is open. This is just a very simple beginning forward bend with the knees apart. So you get a little bit more release in the upper outer hip area. Heart is open and forward. So again, even though it's a forward bend, it also includes components of a back bend. And the action with your hands is of pulling your hands towards you to help increase that heart opening. Breath is easy. And release. Place one hand on each knee. Come to a vertical upright position. And now we're going to stir the pot. So drop your body from one side, so you're making a big circle with your upper body, big or small, fast or slow, whatever feels good to you. Grounding both seat bones. You can allow your chin to be included in this movement or not. You can allow the back bend as you come forward or not. Just allowing a little bit more mobility in the spine area. Notice that these are very simple movements. And one more circle, come to the center, and go the other direction. And one way is going to feel easier than the other. That's very normal. And complete this circuit and come back to neutral and notice how you feel. These are very simple movements. We haven't done anything exotic. And we're not going to do anything really exotic. It's just basic movements that are going to help us feel a little more ease in the body. Okay, so come to hands and knees. I have a pad for my knees because my knees are bony. If you would like to go get a towel to use for that, that's fine. This is a piece of foam. So coming to tabletop. Hands directly under the shoulders, knees directly under the hips, cat directly under the belly. And we'll begin with cat and cow. So dropping the belly, looking up into cow, and the action here is of pulling your hands towards you to increase that back bend feel. Exhaling to cat, rounding the spine, looking at your belly button. Inhale to cow, pulling your hands towards you. Exhale to cat, pushing your hands away. And following your own breath, cat and cow. Again, continuing to warm up the spine. Get the joints mobile and elastic. And we'll come into tiger pose. So come from a neutral position. Extend the right leg out behind you. Find your balance. Extend the left arm out in front of you. Tiger pose. So this begins our strength, the strength portion of our practice today. Notice that here, you're looking at core strength primarily. Although there's some shoulder strength and leg strength that has to happen here. It's primarily activating the core. And then grounding that foot and that hand. Left leg extends out behind you. Right arm extends out in front. Breath stays easy. One side is going to feel easier than the other. This is very normal. And grounding back to table. First side again, right leg extends, left arm. So tiger pose is really useful at developing symmetry in the trunk. Most of us are not perfectly symmetrical. And this is a action or activity or pose that can help develop more symmetry. And grounding and switching sides. So when I first learned this pose, I couldn't do this side at all. I would just tip right over. But I've done it for, 20 years now, and I'm a lot better. And grounding back down, first side again. And grounding down, other side. And grounding down. Okay, now we come to our first strength pose. So standing up on your knees, finding your balance on your knees. I'm going to extend the right leg out to the side, and the foot can be flat on the floor, or the toes can stick up. This is gate pose, or Parighasana. So for Parighasana, I'm going to take that right leg, the right arm down the right leg, coming over any amount. That right leg is straight, and then let the left arm come up overhead. Parighasana, gate pose. And come back to neutral. Leave that leg where it is, and now we're going to go into a variation of Vasisthasana. And that name is fairly useless because Vasisthasta is the name of a sage, so that's not very helpful. Or we could call it side plank. So I'm going to take my left hand down to the side, right arm up overhead, lifting that right leg. So this is one variation. There are other variations, but this is our today variation. And notice that there's a strength component here. And then ground the foot, come back up, bring that knee back down, hands on your hip, and just wiggle around a little bit. So now we're going to do gate pose and Vasisthasana the other direction. So left leg out to the side, straight, standing on that right leg. Left hand goes down that left leg, right arm up overhead, and coming up and over. Gate pose, Parighasana. And then inhale up, right hand goes down, left arm up and over, lifting that left leg. Vasisthasana. And then grounding down, coming up to stand on your knees, hands on the pelvic rim, and wiggle around a little bit. Notice how you feel. Okay, so you might feel like you've been activated a little bit. All right, so now we're going to come to standing. I'm going to move my pad. And I'm going to disturb the cat and turn my mat sideways. You can probably keep your mat where it is. That'll work. I did disturb the cat very much. Come to the center of your mat. Shoulder blades down the back. Step your feet wide. I'm going to have to disturb the cat. So pretty wide. And now you're going to take your left toes and point them straight ahead. Right toes point forward about 35 degrees. Hands on the pelvic rim. We're going into triangle pose. So step one is to fold at the hip. Okay, so you let that hip fold towards the back of your mat, and it folds down, folds down, folds down until you let your hand rest somewhere on your leg, anywhere except on your knee. And then you can let that right arm go straight up. Triangle pose, Trikonasana. And notice that this is related to gate pose, okay? This is a similar action as gate pose, but now we're doing it standing. And then draw back up, hands to the hip hinge, switch your feet. So now the right toes point towards the back of your mat, left toes point in about 35 degrees, folding that pelvis towards that back foot, letting that guide you down, guide you down, guide you down, letting that left arm come up overhead. So I'm not carrying any weight in that right hand. Inhale, draw back up. Both feet point straight ahead. And now a little pigeon toe. Okay, so your toes are going to point in a little bit, heels a little farther away. Folding at the hip hinge. Folding, folding, folding with a flat back. And a wider stance is easier here. So now we're going into wide apart forward bend. Letting your hands reach wherever they go. Maybe as you rest here, you could come down a little more or not, that's fine. Now really find your balance and take the weight out of your hands so that now it becomes leg strength. How about that? Back is flat, gaze is a little bit forward. Hello. And now with the strength of your entire back body, lift up. And wiggle your feet back together. Wiggle around a little bit. All right, so here's where we're going to use the chair. So I'm going to put the chair seat at the front of my mat. So the back of the chair is facing away. And I'm stepping back towards the middle of my mat. And I'm looking at that chair seat. I'm going to step the right leg forward, pretty close to the chair, so that my feet are about 3 feet apart. And my pelvis is facing that chair completely. And from here, I'm going to fold at the hip hinge. Gaze is forward, back is flat. Place your hands on the seat of that chair, looking forward. So the action here is of pulling your hands towards you to increase a back bend feel. Both legs are fairly straight. This is intense side stretch. Parshvottanasana. I don't name them. I don't see any side stretch here, but that's the name of this pose. So shoulder blades come down the back, gaze is forward. The hands are, the action is of pulling that chair towards me to increase the back bend feel. This can be fairly intense on the hamstrings. And if it is, you could turn the chair around and put your hands on the back of the chair. That would be fine. Okay, but so far we're not looking at strength. So from here, back out, hands on the pelvic rim. Now we're coming into the pose again, but the hands are not going to take support from anything. And if you really want support, you can do that. But to make it a strength pose, I'm just going to fold forward, clasp my hands behind me, and let this now be more of a strength pose for the entire back body. So the back of both legs, the back of my back. Gaze is forward. There's still a back bend component in here. Isn't that interesting? So the longer we stay here, the more it becomes a strength pose. And inhale and come back up. Step your feet together. Wiggle around a little bit and notice how you feel. Okay, I'm going to have to disturb the cat. I have to disturb you because I'm going to put my foot where your tail is. Good kitty. Okay, so now I'm going to step the left foot forward towards that seat of the chair. Pelvis faces the seat of the chair. Folding at the hip hinge. Coming down so my hands rest on the seat. Gaze is forward. The action is of pulling the hands towards me. Prasarita, this is Parshvottanasana. Parshvottanasana. Parshva, side. Ut is a participle meaning intense. Asana, so it's Parshvottanasana, intense side stretch. I don't give them names. I've seen this listed as pyramid pose. I mean, that's not at all what the translation is, but if you want a name that actually gives a little bit more descriptive, that would be pyramid pose. So lifting up with the strength of your back, hands go onto the hip hinge, pelvis is still straight to the chair, hands behind you, and coming forward any amount. One side is always easier than the other. That means one side is always harder. So this is a strength pose for the entire back body. The backs of both legs, your back, back of the neck, shoulder blades coming together in the back. Inhale and come up. Step your feet together, release your hands. There you go. A little bit of strength here. So I'm going to move the chair so I can straighten the mat. Bother the cat again. I know, I'm so rude. Okay, so we're going to put the chair back towards the front of the mat. And I'm stepping about 2 feet away from the back of the chair. Palms together. I know you can't see me in the camera, but you'll be able to see when we get into it. Bend the knees, chair pose, Utkatasana. And there's that participle ut again, meaning intense. See, here I am. Okay, now you can place your hands on the back of the chair and maybe go a little deeper. Maybe go a little deeper. And when you feel like that's as deep as it's going to go, you could bring your hands together in prayer. Gaze is forward. Breath is easy. Maybe a little bit deeper, who knows? And just come up. Release your arms, shake your legs out a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to make chair pose. I'm going to back up so maybe you can see my head in the camera. A little bit. Okay, so I'm going to be about the same distance away from the chair. Feet are very close together here. So we're going to go into chair pose with the feet really close together. This is not going to be as deep a chair pose this time. So coming down, hands come to the back of the chair. Coming down, finding your balance on both feet, and lift your right leg. And if you feel like you have your balance, you could do it just on one leg. So really grounded over all four corners of that left foot, feeling the strength in the whole entire left leg. Breath stays easy. You can use the chair for balance if you need to, that's fine. And straighten up, both feet down, release the hands, shake it out. And coming down into chair pose with your hands on the back of the chair. Find your balance, lift the left leg. So you're going down as deep as you wish. And keeping your balance is important, okay? So I don't balance very well on this leg. So I'm definitely not letting go of the chair. But I'm still getting the benefit of the strength of this pose. Utkatasana. And come up. Grounding both feet, release your arms, shake everything out. All right, now I'm going to move the chair out of the way. I'm just very bothersome to this poor cat. I know, it's very sad. Be joyful, joyful. Okay, so from here, I'm going to take both feet very close together. Cross that right leg in front of the left, folding at the hip hinge. Legs stay straight here. So coming down any amount. And notice that this is a big stretch on the outer hip. And depending on your body, you may feel it more on the back leg outer hip, and you might feel it more on the front leg outer hip. One isn't more correct than the other. You feel it wherever you feel it. So I'm not taking support on my legs. I'm letting my entire back body be holding me here. Back is flat, gaze is forward. And then inhale, come up, uncross the legs, shake it out a little bit. Find your balance, crossing the left leg in front of the right. Folding at the hip hinge, coming forward any amount. Back is flat, gaze is forward. So I have my hands on my thighs, but there's no weight. I'm letting my entire back body gain the strength component of this pose. So this is a variation on just a forward fold, Uttanasana. And there's that particle ut again, which means intense. Uttanasana is intense stretch of the west side of the body, or forward fold. Again, no weight in my hands. With the strength of my back, up and come. Uncross your legs, wiggle around. Okay, so now you can come down onto your back, onto the mat, moving the cat out of the way. That would be you, sweetheart. I know, you have to move. I know, it's terrible. So coming onto your back with your knees bent. We're not quite done with strength. But first we're just going to enjoy this, having your back be completely supported by the mat. Pull your shoulder blades underneath you, palms face up, knees are together, feet slightly apart. All right, so really solid in the upper back.
feet are fairly close to the buttocks. And with the strength of your upper arm and the back body, lift your pelvis up. Bridge pose. Setubandha Sarvangasana. And here we are with strength again. And now let your pelvis come down towards the mat, but not all the way. And then press back up very slowly. And then repeat that action at your own pace, but slowly, so you can notice when one leg likes to take over. And pay attention to your upper arms assisting this movement. This time, let your pelvis come all the way down. Lift your knees into your chest. Wrap your arms around your knees. And rock from side to side. But that feels good, huh? Apanasana. Wind relieving pose. And now release your hands. Let your feet come down to the mat. I'm trying to avoid the cat. I don't know where she is. Settle your shoulders back. Place your left ankle on your right knee. Let that left knee fall out to the side. Draw that right thigh up towards your body. Place your left hand inside that hole and wrap your hands around your right leg somewhere. So it could be behind your thigh or it could be in front of the shin, whatever works for you. And then roll from side to side. So this is a counter pose to all that strength stuff that we did for the back of the legs. So here's a release for the back of the legs. And then release that, let both feet come down to the mat. Wiggle your legs around a little bit. And then feet come back to, knees come back to neutral. Right ankle on the left knee. Drawing that whole left thigh up. Wrapping your hands around that left leg somewhere, either behind the thigh or in front of the shin, whatever's comfortable for you. Rocking from side to side. Release, let both feet come down to the mat, wiggle around a little bit. And now let your arms come away from the body, palms face down. Lift your legs up so that your shins are parallel to the floor. Arms can be pretty wide here. And you're going to let both knees fall to the right, looking to the left. Left side of the pelvis comes up off the mat here. Left shoulder stays as close to the mat as is comfortable. Belly rolling pose. So all that stuff we did on the outer hip, here's a counter pose. And inhale, the knees come up straight to the ceiling. Exhale, both knees fall to the left, looking to the right, grounding that right shoulder, letting the right side of the pelvis come up off the mat. Belly rolling pose. Inhale, the knees back up. Now you're going to place your feet mat width apart, arms stay wide. Knees are separated now. And you're going to let both knees fall to the right, looking to the left. This time the pelvis stays pretty grounded. The left side comes up a little bit, but this isn't so much a twist as a hip release. There's a little twist, but the majority is a hip release. Duryodhasana. We call it windshield wiper, although that's not the translation. Inhale, the knees up. Exhale, knees fall to the left, looking to the right. Duryodhasana. Grounding your both shoulders. Encouraging the pelvis to stay down. The right side wants to jump up, and that's okay. But it's not the same kind of a twist as we did before, not belly rolling pose. Inhale, the knees up. Exhale, the knees fall to the right, looking to the left. Inhale, the knees up. Exhale to the left, looking to the right, grounding the right shoulder. Inhale, the knees up, and you can let your legs be long. Hands come down towards your side body, pulling each shoulder blade underneath your body so your palms face up. I'm going to sit up while you set up for Shavasana. Final relaxation. So allow yourself to be fully supported by the mat. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Let your breath be easy. Fully supported by the mat. Notice any areas of your body that feel a little more opening, a little longer maybe, a little more activated. Begin to allow everything to soften, settle down into the mat. Breath stays easy. What can I do? I begin the process of peace by honoring the divine nature of every being. I send prayers of peace to all our world leaders. I envision peace among countries and between neighbors. To change attitudes towards peace, I begin with myself. I connect with the Spirit. This connection allows me to demonstrate peace at work, in my family, and with all my acquaintances. Whenever I feel concern, frustration, or anxiety, I remember to honor the divine nature of every being. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. I'll repeat.
What can I do? I begin the process of peace by honoring the divine nature of every being. I pray for all in turmoil. I send prayers of peace to all our world leaders. I envision peace among countries and between neighbors. To change attitudes towards peace, I begin with myself. I connect with the Spirit. This connection allows me to demonstrate peace at work, in my family, and with all my acquaintances. Whenever I feel concern, frustration, or anxiety, I remember to honor the divine nature of every being. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The Apostle John said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you." Take a deep breath. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Bend your knees. Place your feet on the mat. Gently roll to your right side and rest there. And with the strength of your arms, press yourself up to seated. Bring your hands to heart center. Bow your head to your heart. I honor the place within you where the entire universe exists. I honor the place within you of peace, of joy, of light, and of love. I honor the place within you where, if you are in that place in you, and I am in that place in me, there can be only one of us. And that's the meaning of Namaste. Rub your palms together to generate warmth. Place your palms over your closed eyes. Open your eyes into the darkness and return your hands to heart center. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. I'm so glad you were able to join me. Notice how you feel for the rest of the day. Drink plenty of water and just notice how you feel. Thank you so much for coming. Let me know in the comments how you enjoyed today's practice. Thank you so much.